We scroll for belonging, we curate for validation, and confuse visibility with intimacy. We've become fluent in performance and strangers to presence. This isn't just a cultural problem, it's a biological one. At SoundEmbrace, we dive into sound matters, where science meets soul and curiosity leads the way. Each episode dives into the real, research-backed, and deeply human ways sound shapes healing, leadership, and the art of living a life you love waking up to every day. Because sound isn't just something you hear, it's something you become. Welcome, I'm Danielle Hall, and today we're naming what I believe is the quietest epidemic of our time: the crisis of self-alienation. We live in an age of infinite connection, yet we've never been more disconnected from ourselves. We scroll for belonging, we curate for validation, and confuse visibility with intimacy. We've become fluent in performance and strangers to presence. This isn't just a cultural problem, it's a biological one. It's costing us our health, our peace, and our ability to hear the truth within. So take a deep breath, breathing in with me. Let that go. And feel where your attention lives most of the day. Is it in your mind, your phone, or maybe someone else's expectations? And now ask yourself, where have I abandoned myself to belong? And that's where we'll begin. Are you ready? Let's step into the lab. Self-alienation isn't this poetic phrase that I'm just trying to throw at you. It is actually a measurable psychological state. Social psychologist Roy Baumeister described it as the split between what we show and what we feel. A life performed rather than a life lived. And according to Deci and Ryan's self-determination theory, when we suppress autonomy, authenticity, or emotional truth, our nervous system enters chronic stress. We trade honesty for acceptance, and the body keeps the score. Let's get into the biology of betraying yourself. When you deny your own truth, the brain's anterior cingulate cortex, which is the region that monitors internal conflict, this portion of the brain lights up like a distress signal. The HPA-axis floods cortisol through the body. Heart rate rises, digestion slows, and over time, the cost of self-betrayal looks like fatigue, inflammation, anxiety, and a dull ache of meaninglessness. Gabor Mate calls this the physiology of suppression, when the effort to appear fine quietly erodes the immune system itself. Now add a smartphone, the digital amplifier. Average adults touch their phones 2,600 times a day. 2,600 times a day. The American Psychological Association found that high social media use correlates with higher anxiety, loneliness, and body dissatisfaction, not because of the content, but because of constant comparison and micro-disassociation. Each scroll floods dopamine, then crashes it, training the brain to chase these micro-validations instead of deep regulation. So over time, we confuse stimulation with aliveness, but one is electricity and the other is embodiment. Sound interrupts that loop. So let's bring together the sound connection here. Sound interrupts that loop. When you listen to harmonic resonance, like singing bowls or sustained humming, your brain synchronizes to lower wave states like alpha and theta, restoring neural coherence. That coherence is authenticity made visible in your EEG. Sound literally brings your fragmented systems into tune. In physics terms, resonance equals alignment. In spiritual terms, that's coming home. All right, little story time. A few years ago, I worked with a client, and on paper, she had everything. She had a thriving business, She had the picture perfect family, a beautiful home, but she said, I can't feel anything good anymore. And during that first sound bath, I noticed that she hadn't closed her eyes. She was very alert. She was, her hands were moving to different parts of her body, whether they were laying down on the floor first, and then on her stomach, then on her chest, then behind her head. She was there, but she wasn't there. Now, I never force conversation for anyone when I do a public sound bath session. I leave it as an invitation so that they can empower themselves to come up to me and ask me any questions about their experience or share anything. Now, I might say something like, if you were uncomfortable, blah, 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 and I'll notice things about the room and I'll say it as a blanket statement to invite them into conversation afterwards. But she never came up to me after that session. But then I noticed that she became a regular. And the second session, again, she really didn't get that comfortable. There was another, I don't remember how many she actually came to, but she was regular enough that I could see the shift in her physiology. On one of those sessions, I could see that she was able to close her eyes finally, that her breathing shifted, her jaw softened, her hands relaxed. And then there were some tears that came. Afterwards, on this session, she came up, she said, it's like I finally caught up to myself. And that's when the moment of her self-alienation ended. Not because she thought her way back, but because she could finally hear herself again. And from that point, from this new awareness, she was able to start making some empowered choices and find her own voice and begin that process of feeling seen and heard and who she really is and finding out who she really is. So let's get into the practice today. Go ahead and find a comfortable position. And as you do, place your left hand on your heart and your right hand on top. And inviting in a deep breath in through your nose for 5 counts. Breathing in. And exhale that out. Inhale again. This time allowing for a soft hum on your exhale. Breathing in. Continuing with your inhales and your hums, and allowing the sound vibrate through your chest. Imagining every cell remembering what home feels like. Continuing that inhale and your humming. Continuing on for about 1 more minute. Allowing in your last inhale and simply exhale. And noticing now anything else that comes up for you. And whispering to your body's natural intelligence, I'm listening. That's all your body's been waiting for. Bringing your awareness now to the connection of your hands to your body. Taking one last deep breath in through your nose for 5 counts. Breathing in. And sigh that out. And when you're ready, you may slowly open your eyes. Thank you for doing this practice with me today. We live in a culture that teaches performance over presence. But your healing doesn't start when you fix yourself. It starts when you return to yourself. Sound is one way home, but the real work is curiosity, noticing when you've left yourself and choosing to come back again and again. Because alienation isn't permanent. It's just dissonance waiting for resonance. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to invite you to become a part of the SoundEmbrace family, a community of sound embracers taking personal ownership of their lives and supporting one another and living lives they love waking up to every day. Stay curious, listen deeply, and live a life you love.